Constitution is the guide for lawmaking in the United States. It represents a way of life and a philosophy that has defined Americans since its creation in 1787. However, the years have taken a toll on the Constitution, and conflict over its most basic principles has emerged. Is the United States Constitution, one of the most important documents in the history of the world, now obsolete? Are the freedoms and rights that it promises substantive, or just words on a page? And, through a modern scope, does this 226-year-old guideline have a place in modern society? Let's take a look at how our president feels about the Constitution. Then let's see if ordinary citizens share his beliefs.
Well, I'm really excited about Constitution Day because, as some of you know, I'm a lawyer, but I also taught constitutional law at the University of Chicago. And it is an amazing document. When you think about our country, unlike most countries, we're not all of the same race or the same religion. We don't all come from the same places. Many of us are immigrants. But what holds us all together is a belief in certain ideals and certain values. And the Constitution really is what sets us apart by saying that every single person is treated with respect. Every single individual has certain rights, and that the government has to follow certain rules in how it interacts with its citizens. And so it sets out a model not only for our democracy, but also for how each of us have certain individual freedoms and certain rights that can't be broken. So, the best example is freedom of speech, which, since you guys are reporters, you have to be concerned about. It's because of our Constitution that newspapers and radio and television reporters are able to find out what's happening. They can ask questions of their elected officials. They can write criticisms about what officials are doing. And in a lot of countries that's not true, but our Constitution says that's a right that is important to us. And so it protects our ability to all live together as part of a single democracy.
Okay, so I think that the Constitution is a valuable document but easily misinterpreted by politicians because it was written at a time where life was simpler, and now I think given the level of access to information, the sophistication of our people, that the Constitution was too vague in some of its principles, and therefore I think is the source or generates a lot of conflict and issues within politics today.
I think that the United States Constitution is a good way to protect the rights of the citizens. Yes, I do think that it protects the human rights of U.S. citizens because it ensures the justice, it ensures the human rights of each and every citizen. It is against any source of racial discrimination. And speaking frankly, it is protective against all sorts of caste, color, and creed, I think. Thank you.
But still in schools, there's a lot of segregation and stuff, even if it's not that noticeable. Especially I go to Delta, and there's Core and Delta, and when we sat on the bus to Six Flags, all the white kids were in the front, and the black kids were in the back, and we sit in a lunchroom where there's a line, Core's on one side and Delta's on the other, and we never have mixed classes, and everybody blames each other for things, and I really don't think it's fair because the white kids pretty much, not all of them, but they have a lot of things handed to them, and teachers are always oh, the black, the Core kids are so rowdy and don't pay attention, but what the Core kids do, they do in school, because they have to go home straight after school and babysit their brothers and sisters and cook dinner for them, and the Delta kids could just go out and do stuff, and we do things that are just as rowdy and stuff, and I don't think that's really fair. And also when black kids just get, I don't know, Jaden's been searched a couple times, but I've just stood there because I'm white.
That.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, you should have a reason to do something like that. But stop and frisk is basically just going up to person, just any person. And it's really off of discrimination.
And
you don't go after say your brother, for instance, Noah, a Jewish white kid on West End. No cop is gonna just stop Noah and frisk him.
Have
you
you?
See me in a hood at night on Broadway?
They'd go after you.
You can't own a weapon and have been to jail or be a felon or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So kind of finding a balance between the Constitution and something practical. Okay, great. Go.
So to me, the Constitution is really relevant to myself because if without it, I wouldn't. If we didn't have the First Amendment, I wouldn't be able to speak out against things that I didn't like about the government. I would never be able to talk about the DOE and the institution of standardized testing and how it negatively affects me as a person. And also if I didn't live in America where we have the First Amendment, I would never be able to have a Facebook account and express myself or post pictures on Instagram, So I think it's really important that a government that is promoting creativity and allowing everyone to vocalize their own opinions is it creates a more sound society.
But hasn't the government, in the past, there's kind of a boundary line between, freedom with recently with the Patriot Act, before with the Alien and Sedition Act.
Right.
Do you think that it's the right of the government to be able to obstruct these amendments in any times of
Yeah, I think that there's such thing as I think that it's important to have some level of privacy, to have some level of you making your own decisions and not having the government make them for you, which is what a democracy is really. But I think that...
Do you think this Constitution allows, the way that this Constitution is written allows for a pure form of democracy, or do you think that it's, has to be altered in any way?
I think that it's a lot of gray area because it's not so black and white. I don't think that there's a real way that you could ever alter the Constitution without upsetting someone. So I think that it's important to amend it with the changes that need to be made. But I think that it's also important to keep some of the traditional values alive for Americans because it's just the way it's always been.
The ideal view that our president has of the Constitution may not be in agreement with most citizens. It is apparent that the promises made to the American people under the Constitution do not always ring true in reality. Still, the fact that our country operates with the Constitution in mind makes it valuable. As shown in its many amendments, the Constitution is flexible. As our needs and focuses change, hopefully so will it. The U.S. Constitution may seem outdated and irrelevant, but the greatness of the United States is fully linked to its principles.